But with all the work that you're doing too, like you're managing multiple brands, do you feel that you constantly have to, and obviously you have great teams in place, but do you feel like you have to read every piece that comes out from your brand, listen to every podcast that comes out? Like, what is that oversight for you now at this point in your career and with your businesses?
Yeah, it's a great question. Only because in the last 2 months this is the first time where I've really been confronted with that. And it's just because of the volume of material that we're producing right now. And so I think I'm just now beginning to engage with that tipping point. But for me, the setup has been for me to not have that type of oversight. The editorial team that we have is the same team we've been working with I mean, it's the team that built the company. So it's like there's no new. I mean, we have, there's more people involved in the process, but as far as like the editorial that goes out, it's the same people who built the company. So I have the most faith in the team. And then, yeah, my job has changed a lot in the last year, especially we raised some pre-seed capital that thank you. It's a little something, but we raised about $1.5 million to subsidize the podcast network. And so really just learning another language, right? Learning the language of investment, of venture capital, a language that I'm not fluent and I'll probably never be fluent in, but really, having a vocabulary, right? Like you don't have to be fluent. Like I said, I could still move through Mexico, and have been for years on my level of Spanish, right? So as far as like language, just because you will never reach a stage of mastery doesn't mean you shouldn't engage with it. There's still so much access. It's about access to information, opportunities, etc. And mostly access is blocked by an inability to decipher the language of that sector. And so I spent so much time last year learning, that vocabulary. And as I learned that, I really started to see my role shifted into like a CEO. Like I really have to be the visionary leader for this business. I need to hire other people to manage and grow the vision. I need to grow the business. I need to not run out of money. I need to be compliant. I need to have a board of directors. You feel me? So these are things that are way different than me on a satchel. Also, not only was I the guy on the satchel, I edited every single photo that we did for like the first 3 years.
So you touched everything.
Everything. I mean, the article. That's why I'm like, the brand is better than it's ever been because I'm doing the least on the editorial side. Like the reason y'all are loving it is because I'm not touching it really. So yeah, that's what I mean about honestly just the blueprint. And I think the folks who have been growing the business over the last few years took the blueprint to a place that again exceeded even my own imagination.
Well, especially because, yeah, you've been the face, you literally were the face on the magazines as you're trying to go out and sell them early on. Now you're in a position with the podcast network that you have with Whetstone Radio Collective. You have all these shows that are hosted by other individuals. Obviously, you host Whetstone Audio Dispatch, but you also, I noticed on the first episode that you put out, you kind of have somebody else leading that conversation as well. But everything you've done has been super collaborative. But now, especially in this podcasting space where you're having people to basically be your brand ambassadors on all these different shows, was that tough to get to that point to allow people to speak on your company's behalf that literally used to have your face on it?
Not really for me, actually. I don't know what that means, but the way my like come up is very improbable in many ways. I was a sommelier just a few years ago, as I just told you, and doing a blog for a farm to table restaurant like not that long ago. And the reason I wanted to start Whetstone is because I was very uninspired by what was being published in food media. I was like, this is very myopic. And so I think I could actually like do this better. And I think I really did have some degree of humility. I mean, I was a little naive, like, but it wasn't like I wasn't just like trying to talk shit, but that I was perceived as an agitator, you know, because I was publicly in San Francisco, you know, I would be on like little panels and just kind of making a case for a need for a kind of media. It seems so obvious now, but the world was, I mean, different not that long ago, that was more inclusive, and you know, that it was really harmful to not have Black people featured in food media, for instance, and like how that erasure really reflected the same kind of erasure that was happening in our physical space as well. And so post 2020, all of this sounds like, obviously, where's the rub? But this was 2014, 15, 16, 17. So I was on like a lot of panels and, you know, just like a Black person who was agitating in food media. And until I had something that was actually in the market that I could say, I'm not just an agitator, but actually I made something that's better. Right? Like
I lead this marketplace.
Exactly. So I'm not just talking shit on the sidelines. I actually made something to prove my point. And that's really when I had an opportunity, as my opportunities grew, to run our business how I wanted it, what I was agitating for when it seemed impossible. And that was, if you actually let folks from various cultural backgrounds tell their story, that's going to be way better than anything I could do as a journalist, as a writer, flying by for a long weekend, being like, and then functioning like an interpreter. But again, you don't even speak that language. You just got there 5 seconds ago. But that's how people were doing media. That's how we were learning about other food. It still baffles me. And so for me, the idea was always like, let's get people who really are of these cultures, who have the cultural context to talk and teach us about this food, so we can have the best experience. And that has really been sorry, someone just texted me. We were nominated for a Peabody Award.
Oh my gosh. Congratulations.
Wow. Thank you. That's really wild.
Yeah, that is just to be complete, that's a career goal of mine. So kudos to you right there on the Peabody nomination, man. That is huge.
Yeah, I literally just found out. Thank you. I'm kind of stunned. Yeah. So
yeah. Let me let you have that soak in for a second, because you definitely you should enjoy that moment right there. So let that ruminate for a second, because I think that is a nice culmination of what you've been working on, and speaks to the authenticity of what you were doing. And just like you were just saying, not just flying in somewhere and trying to tell someone else's story, but empowering those who are part of that community to tell their own story. Right. That's what gets you those kind of accolades now, and that's a beautiful thing that we've gotten to that point now. But to your point, it's only in recent past that we've kind of gotten there. And so that intentionality of how you've been operating in the space is probably why you're nominated for such a prestigious award. So again, congratulations.
Thank you. I'm not actually like, I'm not like, I'm just more kind of stunned. I mean, I just shared my story with you. So like, it just seems laughable, honestly, like because there just didn't seem to be a large marketplace for these ideas. Has media shifted in such a way where the machine of media, which is really about the power of distribution, scale, and distribution, it's still owned by the same people, right? We do have now a marketplace for the ideas, but the business, and this, right? Because you are a Black person who owns a media business.
Yep.
And so when you really look at it, you're like, have things changed? Things are changing, sure. But you really need to go to the origins, because what's happening is that, yeah, it might look more diverse. The bylines might look more diverse, but the ownership structure, we have work to do. Yep. So that's really what I'm focused on, as well, as like just being viable, minding my business, growing the business. And the other stuff is honestly for the team. Like, I know as the face, you get so much credit for making stuff happen. And High on the Hog is so not just about me. It's so much about so many other people. Many of those folks who really do celebrate, these types of like accolades. So yeah, I feel that, though. I'm happy because the energy of the message was like,
yes.
I'm like, yeah, okay, that's great. I'm happy for us.
Now you're amplifying that message.
Yeah, totally.